So I'm going to do a real quick review of the different forms of the equations. This was last time. Standard form, I'll get it started. You don't have to write this part. I just want you to look and listen. All right. Standard form starts like this. AX, what comes next? I'm going to see who watched the video from last time. Go ahead. We already have an X. BY, good, equals C. So for example, 7X plus 2Y equals 12. You get what I'm saying? That's the format. All right, slope-intercept form is y equals, let's see who remembers that one. Mx, but good. M is the slope, B is the y-intercept. Okay? I got the last one. Oh, the last one's the hardest one. I'll be really impressed if you know this. It does start with a Y. Go ahead. It's 5 minus good. 5, 1. Good. Equals X. Close. It's M. That's your slope. M is slope. M for slope, because that makes sense. Parentheses. It's M. Or no, X minus X1. That one confuses people because of the ones. Those would be numbers. So for example, y minus 2 equals 14, parenthesis, x minus 3. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there would be numbers. And all you have to know is the format of it. So when you look at this one, which format is this one in? Standard, slope intercept, or point slope? Slope. Oh, yes. Slope intercept is what that's called, okay? So it says write the equation in slope intercept form. It already is, so we don't have to do that. Go us, all right? Your slope is 2/3. No work. Do you see where I got the 2/3 from though? Like reading it. All right, I don't have the x-intercept yet, so just hold on that. And your y-intercept is the -6. Now, if you just write -6, I'll mark it correct because I'm trying to be nice, but it is a point. It's supposed to be 0, -6. All right, now we're going to get the x-intercept from the graph. Oops. Let's go ahead and start at our 0, -6. That's right here. Just go ahead and put a point, count down 6, or you can look, it says -6, put a point. And then you just took a quiz on this. What's your slope telling you to do? Up 2 and over 3. Go up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3 until you can't anymore. How many points should you plot? All of them. As many as will fit. If you can count to 3, you can do it. So I'm not asking you for a whole lot there. Now the x-intercept, it went off the grid by 1 point, but can you see where it would hit the x-axis? Are you seeing that there? It went off the grid, so 9, good. So it would be 9, 0. And again, if you just wrote 9, I'd give you credit because for heaven's sake, you knew the answer, but it's supposed to be 9, 0. And I don't have this written on here, but you're all taking notes. An x-intercept is also called a 0. So if you see what's the 0, it just means what's the x-intercept. It's just another vocabulary word that means the same thing. And then the other thing you need to be able to do is domain and range. So just write yourself a little D and a little R for domain and range. And lines are the easiest one because this is going to go forever both directions. It's going to go left and right forever, and it's going to go up and down forever. You focused with me there? Can you set your paper on the table and use your pencil to write down what I'm writing down? Domain is X or Y? Which one? X. X. And what do we write to mean that it goes forever? That got taught to you wrong, but I fixed it. I went over it again. Can you look up here? Every time I look at you, you're looking somewhere else. I'm going to have you turn your desk if you can't look up here. Does anyone remember what symbol we did to show that it's forever? What does it look like? An E. It looks like a little sideways E. Oh, yeah. And then what? What letter of the alphabet? You guys didn't listen to me when I taught it to you. The video last time, if anyone watched it, I did a whole big review of this. None of you watched it. See, this is why you don't know what's going on. It's R. Do you remember what R stands for? We just did domain. Stands for reals, all real numbers. It means everything, all reals. How would I write range? It's practically the exact same thing, except instead of X, Y, good. Y, all reals. The reason it's all reals is because it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever forever. Now, I'm not going to be able to do every single question on here. I want you to have time to do your classwork. So since number 2 is practically the exact same thing as number 1, it's already in slope-intercept form. I'm going to skip that one. Let's look at this one. What format is this one in? You have an X, then a Y, then an equal sign. Yeah, the first one, do you remember what it's called? It's X. All right. You have to get it into slope-intercept form. This is what the lesson was on last time. You have to get Y by itself. So we're going to subtract over the 4X. If you didn't watch the video from last time, you need to go back and do that. Like you've missed the whole lesson if you didn't do what you're supposed to do last time. So that's going to give us negative 8Y equals, and what order should I write that in if I want it to be in this format? Go ahead. Good. Everything's negative, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, put the x's first. Negative 4x minus 32. Very good. And then your last step, how do you get rid of the negative 8? Okay, divide. Now you have to divide everything by negative 8. And if that makes you nervous, guess what you have? A calculator, Desmos, all right? It's going to be y equals, negatives cancel, which is good because everything's going to be positive. Do you know how 4/8 reduces though? 1/2 x. Good. You guys have good number sense. Number sense is not something I can teach to you. You kind of have to have that. So it's good that you guys have that. These will cancel. And then again, you'd have a calculator, but I'm just throwing it out there. Does anyone know 32 divided by 8? Close. It is 4. You'd have a calculator. You were close. You gave an even number, so I'm happy about that. No one said like 7. Right? All right, so what's your slope? Looking at this, the whole reason we did this, why did we bother doing that? Yeah, 1/2. And your y-intercept is 4, 0, 4. And then you can get your graph really easy. You're going to put a point at 0, 4. This is what you just did on your quiz. To do a slope of a half, you're going to go up 1/2. Good. Just go up 1/2, up 1/2, up 1/2. And again, if you can count to 2, you can do it. So just keep going. Like do all of the points that will fit. Because then you don't have to worry if your line gets wonky. Like if you have all the points on there, it's going to end up being straight. Another word for x-intercept is 0. Just remember that. It's also called 0. It just means the same thing. Where'd we end up with our x-intercept on this one? Just follow it the whole way down to the x-axis. Yeah, negative 8. Good. Yep, negative 8, 0. And again, if you just put negative 8, I would let that go. But, you know, we're going to do domain and range because that was rough a second ago. Is domain x or y? X. And do you see the arrows on the end? How it goes forever? Yeah. You're going to write little e. That means element of. It means x element of. And then what letter? R stands for real. Good. Okay, we got there. And so range is going to be y element real. Can you guys listen to me real quick? On your test that you'll eventually take on this, that's the answer for domain and range. I can't change it. Lines go forever. That is the answer. It's not going to be different. That's it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Domain is that, range is that. Yes, sir. So you would read the directions, and these directions say put in slope-intercept form. But the reason we do that is because it's easier to graph if it's in that form. I would, yeah. Now I'm going to just do like a few more back here. We don't need to do necessarily like every single problem on here. Let's do, you know what? Let's do 7, 8, and 9. Again, I put a ton of problems on here. We don't need to necessarily do all of them. Now, what do you notice is missing in number 7? Can you look through and be like, hey, what's missing? There is not a y. Let's see how that turns out. What would you do to get x by itself since there's not a y? Yeah, -4, good. This is solving equations. That would give you 2x equals 12. Okay, I provided you with notes. I provided you with something to write with. You need to put it together. Okay, I provided you everything you need. What's your other step there? Divide by 2 and you get x equals 6. I'm going to review the little acronym for that, which was HOI-VUX. We did go over that in notes. HOI-VUX is not a word. It's a little like mnemonic device to help you remember stuff. When you have an x equals, that's the VUX part. Do you remember what V stands for in that with the x? vertical, and the slope is good, undefined. So we're going to put slope is undefined. You can abbreviate it. And your line will be vertical like this. So all you have to do is count to 6 and draw a vertical line. Oops, broke the pencil. I'm going to have to write with pen. I broke my pencil. So you just count to 6, draw in a vertical line. This way is undefined. This way is 0. Vertical is undefined. It's like a slope you could not walk up. Like if there was a hill shaped like that, you couldn't walk up it because it's completely vertical. All right, so your x and y intercept. What's your x intercept? Where does this touch the x? 6 or 6 comma 0. Now your y-intercept, does this touch the y-axis? No, so you just don't have one, none. That's okay, that's a valid answer. There isn't one. You cannot, because, oh, that's a really good question. Did you hear his question? Could you just put 0? 0 is an actual answer. None indicates that there's not an answer at all, so you can't put 0. That was a good question. Now the domain and range do change a little bit if it's a vertical or horizontal line. So let's do our domain and range. The range goes up and down forever. Do you see the arrows up and down? So your range is going to be all reals. It'll be everything. The domain isn't, though. You actually only get one number. What's the only number you get for your domain? Yeah, x is 6 is literally the only number that you get. And if you were like, hey, Miss Cole, that entire thing confused me. Let me share my screen. Can you just watch for a second? Look, if you were like, that whole thing confused me. If you go into your calculator and type x equals 6, and let me, do you know this little home button will put it back to the center for you? Do you see how it's a vertical line at 6? Do you see that there? Like, it'll literally do it for you. Cool, right? Like, use your calculator. All right, and then let's do number 9. What format, I'm going to ask you to do one more, and then I'm going to have you do your classwork. What format is this one in? Do you see y minus 5 equals, and then you get your slope? Yeah, the third one. It's called point slope form. Okay, you have a few more blocks before we're going to have a test, but we'll have to know that. But point slope form, you guys recognized it. All right, to get y by itself for this one, we need to get rid of the parentheses. So we're going to have to distribute into the parentheses. So we're going to distribute. Good, that is multiplication. We're going to multiply a negative 1/2 through there. What would that give us? Negative 1/2 x. Good. Oh, it is 3. Yeah, good. It'll be minus 3 because it's a negative 1/2. If you were like, hey, Miss Cole, that confused me. I've got you. Look, if you go over here to your calculator and type negative 1/2, oops, times 6. Look at that. Do you see how I did that? You never need to worry if you can't do it in your head because you have a calculator group in the back. All right. And then what do I need to do to get y by itself? It's almost by itself, but plus 5. Line it up with the 3. You want to be organized. Most of mathematics is not about intelligence. It's about organization. I say that to all my classes all the time. You could be a genius. If you can't stay organized, you're not going to get it, especially if you don't pick up the pen that I provided you with and write any of this down. All right, so this is going to be y equals negative 1/2 x, negative 3 plus 5. What is that going to? 2. But if you didn't know that, or you just wanted to check to make sure, what would you do? Desmond, type it in the calculator. All right, so now we have it in our slope intercept. What's our slope? Negative 1/2. And the y-intercept? 2. 0, 2. And again, the reason why we put it in that format is it makes it easier to graph. You can plot your point 0, 2, which is right there. If you can count to 2, you can do it. And then what's your slope telling you to do?
Go down 1, go.
Good, down 1 over 2, or you can go up 1 and the other way too, but the line should be going downwards, since the slope is negative. I won't make you write it, but what's the domain? X? X, little e, R. Good. And then what's the range? Y, little e, R. It goes forever in both directions, so it's everything. All right, and then x-intercept or zero. If you get it called a zero, if somebody, so the test says, what's the zero? 4.